Like major problem. So if you guys are wondering what the gifts are, then let me tell you, our first giveaway is Treat to Cheat One, where you get a chance to do the jungle safari for 2 nights and 3 days. त्यसै गरी हाम्रो सेकेन्ड प्राइज रहेको छ प्याराग्लाइडिङ फर हाफ एन आवर. त्यसै गरी हाम्रो थर्ड प्राइज रहेको छ अल्ट्रा लाइट फ्लाइट. सो यो कुरा थाहा पाएँ कि जस्ट गिभअवे चाहिँ तपाईँहरू एकदम एक्साइटेड हुनुहुन्छ रहेछ. नट ओन्ली दिस, हाम्रो अरू पनि गिभअवेजहरू धेरै छ ड्युरिङ द इभेन्ट. जो हाम्रो कम्पनीबाट यदि भिजा लन्च गर्नुभयो भने तपाईँहरू मध्येमा 5 स्टुडेन्टले पाउनुहुन्छ 50% फ्री सर्भिस अन योर टिकट फी. त्यसै गरी 15 स्टुडेन्ट्सले पाउनुहुन्छ 50% अफ अन आइएल्स फी. र यहाँ आउनुभएका सबैजना हाम्रो स्टुडेन्ट्सहरूले पाउनुहुन्छ 10% अफ अन आइएल्स फी. सो यो चाहिँ हाम्रो लाइक हाम्रो कोर्स रिलेटेड तपाईँलाई गिभअवेज दिएका छौँ भने हाम्रो बम्पर गिभअवेज त रहेको नै छ. सो आर यु गाइज एक्साइटेड अबाउट आवर बिगेस्ट गिभअवेज? आई क्यान हियर योर भोइस. तपाईँहरू एक्साइटेड हुनुहुन्छ कि छैन? इट्स अ ब्युटिफुल प्लेस. पोखरामा बसिरहनु भएको छ. सो यु गाइज मस्ट बी भेरी एक्साइटेड अबाउट डुइङ प्याराग्लाइडिङ, अल्ट्रा लाइट फ्लाइट एन्ड द चिट वान. सो तपाईँहरू तिनटै प्राइजहरूमा सहभागी हुनुभएको छ. सो प्लिज सो योर एक्साइटमेन्ट. आर यु गाइज एक्साइटेड? One more time, please. Are you guys excited? Alright, so your excitement is till the end of the event when you राखिरहनु होला. And if you guys are wondering चाहिँ हामीले यो प्राइज कहिले अनाउन्स गर्छ भनेर सोचिरहनु भएको छ भने चाहिँ हामी during the event, middle of the event हामी तपाईँहरूलाई चाहिँ यो अनाउन्स गर्छौँ है त. So one more time, please show your excitement. Are you guys excited? And are you guys ready? So yeah, okay, so having said that, I guess now it's time for me to announce our last speaker of the event. Ladies and gentlemen, our last speaker for the event is an Australian marketing manager for Victoria and Tasmania, who is none other than Mr. John Marmarinos, who is sitting right over there, standing there. And at first, I would like to give a brief profile about him. Today in this event, we will be talking about visa, Australian University, 407 and 500 student visa. And talking about him, of course, I've already said he is an Australian marketing manager for Victoria and Tasmania. Talking about his former work experience, he has worked as a commercial lawyer. He was principal at Marmarinos and Macquarie Lawyers. He has more than 20 years experience in areas like conveyancing property law, migration law, real estate, employment law, social security law, discrimination law. Well, he got lots of extra. Please put your hands together for Mr. John Marmarinos.
Our slideshow presentation, so I think we're going to PDF. So there might be, it's not as good as it could look, but at least you get to see what we had on slideshow. My name is John Marmarinos. I live in Tasmania. No, you have. Great. Yes. Well, you're the first person in Nepal who knows where Tasmania is. So I live in Hobart, which is the capital city. It's a pretty city, only a small city, about 250,000, so it's a bit like Cochrane size actually. We aren't on a lake, but we're on a river, and it's very beautiful. And we do have a mountain that actually, even in the summertime, actually has snow on it. So there you go. We have this relationship. I've been a lawyer for 20 years, and I've also been a migration agent, and I'm here now associated with KTM. I think we're still looking for slides. So I've been brought here to sort of talk about Australia, talk about your opportunities there, tell you a bit about the 407 visa, which not many people actually know about, including other agents out there, and talk about your life potentially as a student in Australia and your opportunities there. So we've got a slide happening. Almost done. What else can I tell you? We are developing linkages between KTM and Australian institutions, educational institutions. We have contacts within most universities. Part of my job is to actually talk to universities and see the numbers that we can actually get in regard to student placements and potentially enter into legal arrangements in regards to that. We have a slide maybe now. We can go to the first slide. If we got it. Second slide there. All right, this is the first slide. Who is KTM? KTM is in Australia and here, so that's actually a lot of our places here. Educational recruiters don't have offices in Australia. At least you know where we are. If you need help, that's where we are. We've got offices in Sydney. We've got contacts in Brisbane, and we'll be opening up an office in Tasmania and Sydney and Melbourne. So we have a proven placement. Just went up. We have proven success in placements. We have a migration law expert. I'm also a migration agent. We have support within the Nepalese community. We have a network there. We know people, we know businesses who will take on students, because as part of your visa, you're allowed to work. And that's important for you as students, either for a 407, which is the training visa, or the education, the student visa, which is the 500. Both visas, you're allowed to work. You're allowed to work 20 hours a week. So that's important. So half your time basically you should be in study, and the other half should be potentially finding a job, making money, making it easy for you to live and work and study and work in Australia. Your main goal is to basically study. You do not tell the immigration official at the other end of the phone that you're coming to Australia to work. You do not say that. You actually say you're coming to Australia to study. Because they do not want you to be there as a permanent resident. That's not the point of your visa. Your visa is to get you to Australia. So you actually are there temporarily, technically. You are there to actually complete your course, get your degree, get your diploma. It depends on what you're actually going for. Because, but in here, this one here, it's a student visa. Usually that really remains being a university student, but there's also colleges. There's even TAFEs in Australia, which give you trade qualifications. And don't look down on trade qualifications. The plumbers make more money than lawyers in Australia. So think about, plumbing, if you can get a position as a plumber. Great job. What else is there? So there is, as you know, there's language requirements. You can't go to Australia without speaking English. If you don't understand me right now, you're going to have problems. Okay? You need to be able to speak English, and reasonable level English. So, in the student visa, it's actually quite high. I think the minimum is 6, and in the subclass working visa, it's 4.5. And that's something that you need to know. You need to do your ILS. You need to be qualified in English. You also need your evidence of your ILS language course. You also need your language score, of course. You also need to be able to financially live in Australia without support. So you'll have to show, this is where the banks come in, you'll have to sort of be able to prove that you have so much money in the bank, you're capable of looking after yourself, and you're technically rich for a Nepalese. So we'll see how you go. You also need your health checks. You need a physical, a report to state that you're in good health, and you also need health insurance, and that's something you need to organise through your agent, or basically also through KTM. They can organise that. So we'll go to the next slide. All right, this is a bit more about the subclass. You can actually apply inside or outside Australia. Your visa only lasts as long as your course lasts, and you have to comply with all conditions of your visa. So these are the other types of visas that might be relevant for you. There's a student guardian visa, so if you're under the age of 18, you can bring a parent with you as the guardian. We also have that, again, we've got the training visa, which we'll talk a bit more about later, and this is why a lot of you are here for, to basically be able to come into Australia as a trainee. You do not need university qualifications. You really ought to have, all you need to have is work experience in a relevant area for 2 years, and that's pretty much it. So if you can show that you're a cook in a restaurant, your dad's restaurant, for the last 2 years, that can get you over to Australia doing a chef's course. And there's courses there for chefs. There's management courses, there's IT courses, there's programming courses, there's healthcare courses. There's a number of courses there that you can do which aren't university related. They're college based, and they will give you a visa from 6 months to 2 years for that. In that training visa, you'll need, again, just like your student visa, you'll have to have a 4.5 IELTS score. You'll need proven financial support, health check, health insurance, a police clearance, and if you look at that little website at the bottom, or if you Google 407 Visa Australia, they'll send you to that link, and it'll give you all the information that you need regarding it. We'll go there. So this is the process of how to study in Australia. You basically decide where you want to go. You apply for the course. You check your entry requirements so that you're able to get in. You receive a letter of offer. You receive a confirmation of enrolment. You apply for your visa at that point. And then you basically are ready to go. However, a lot of times it's useful to speak to your agent, KTM, basically just to ask all the right questions, know where you're actually going to, know what course you really want to do, find out what areas that are actually easy to get in. In Tasmania, even though it's a small place, it's the only place in Australia where you can study anything to do with the Antarctica. I know there's not many Nepali in Antarctica, but there should be because there's a lot of snow there. So there's Antarctica studies and there's marine studies. So if you want to be a sailor, for example, it's the only place in Australia to learn how to be a sailor, to be a captain of a boat. And then look, that's quite a high level position, big money. Those are the sort of things that these ideas that you should be thinking about. Not just IT, although IT, those sort of things are really important. It's usually a very good way of getting into Australia as a permanent resident. But there are other things out there that you should consider just for your own personal sake. I mean, don't do a course you're going to really hate. And really, at the end of the day, this is the course that you're going to use for the rest of your life. So hopefully, choose wisely, choose well. These are the reasons why you will not get a visa, and these are important things that you should know about too. All right, so this is why KTM's useful. Incorrect or incomplete documents. You've actually had a criminal past, so if you've killed someone, don't apply for Australia. You won't get in. So you're also, this is at a point where the immigration officer will look at your documents and decide whether you are a genuine temporary entrant, a GTE. They will look at you and decide whether are you really going to Australia to improve your qualifications or get a qualification, or are you going there to just work? So you've got to come across as being a genuine temporary entrant. You have to go there to learn something, not to work, not to make money. You're going there for an education. However, that can all happen. So this is where Nepalese students are really in high demand. They are recruited internationally, anywhere. If you have the STEM, the science and technology, the engineering and maths, which a lot of Nepalese are entering in those courses, you have a high level of access to Australian universities, and it says there roughly 65% of Nepalese students enroll in the US are in STEM. So that's probably getting close to the same levels in Australia. We'll go on to the next slide. Sorry. That gives you an idea of the number of students that are coming to Australia. We have close to 700,000 students coming to Australia for a country of 3 million, which is almost the same size as Nepal. It's quite a lot. And it basically says most of them are, the graph sort of is a bit hard to read, but most of them are going into the higher education university fields. Alright, and this is the reason why Nepalese, of course, go overseas. They go overseas because it gives them more opportunity, further growth for their studies, the ability to develop as a person, and Nepal is estimated to be among the top 10 for growth between 18 and 20 year bracket for the next 9 years in Australia. So where at the moment you're 4% of the Australian students' numbers, but we expect that to grow significantly in the next few years. All right, Australia. Now this is a really important question. Why do you want to study in Australia? Apart from the lifestyle and the fact that it's actually not crowded and it's a safe country to live in. That's one of the things that people don't realise, the benefit of living and studying in Australia. It is safe. Relatively low crime rates. You aren't discriminated against because of you look, Nepali. My background, my father's Greek and my mother's Ukrainian. I was born in Australia, but we were always welcome in Australia. So that's another thing. You do not face discrimination as a Nepali in Australia, and that's an important factor. In regards to crime, it's like I said, it's safe. You should feel safe in Australia. In America, on the other hand, 10,000 people a year get killed by handguns per year in America. So, your numbers are statistically quite high, getting shot in America and dying there. That's something that you should keep in mind. It's safe, it's relatively cheap, there's a lot of infrastructure around you, a lot of support from KTM and from the Nepali community that already exists there. Okay, there's some testimonials about Tasmania, the University of Tasmania. I think there's a Nepali girl who actually sort of says how great Tasmania is. Think about Tasmania, it's a good spot. They're the courses. So when you want to sign up for a university, look at the university site themselves. Look at what they're offering, see how much it costs. They'll give you a costing of how much your units will cost you to study in that university. That's really important information, and those are the sort of things you need to know probably before you come to KTM. So there's no point going to KTM. Yes, I want to study in Australia, but I just found out the course I want is going to cost me $30,000 a year. That's something that you should know before you come to KTM. So you need to know how much it's going to cost you. And really, at the end of the day, please use this where you can for KTM. It's a growing little tiger of an educational recruiting company. We have offices, like I said, in Australia, Japan, India, and of course in Nepal. So thank you for listening. That's the end of my presentation. Is there any questions that you would like asked now, or you can sort of sit down and talk to a recruiter? So you're all okay? Well, thanks for listening to me, and thanks for your kind attention. And feel free to talk to people. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir, for guiding us through the 407 and the 507 visa, 500 visa. यदि तपाईहरुलाई केही पनि क्वेशन्सहरु सोध्नु छ भने चाहिँ अब चाहिँ हामी छिट्टै नै 1-to-1 काउन्सिलिङमा हामी जान्छौँ र तपाईहरुले चाहिँ डाइरेक्ट उहाँसँग क्वेशन्स चाहिँ गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ. Alright. So having said that, now I would like to take this moment to thank our supporters of the event as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Sagar Fuyal and Ms. Samriddhi Aryal, who are the supporters of the event from Reliable Education for Abroad Studies. They are there, they are all ready to counsel you guys. So wahan se back huncha haina. One more time, please give a huge round of applause for them. And also, hamro ajuko as well for attending this event, and thanks to our honorable guest as well. Having said that, not to forget, we have our biggest beam bumper giveaways. Rajun Singh have middle of the station ma चाहिँ दिन्छौँ र तपाईहरु चाहिँ one of the lucky winner हुन चाहनुहुन्छ भने चाहिँ be with us. हामी रमाइलो गर्ने नै छौँ. We are sure of that. So having said that, now yes, it's time for us to wrap up the formal session.